Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we are adding a powerful gamification feature, the leaderboard screen. Leaderboards motivate users by showing their ranking based on habit streaks and consistency. In this section, we will design a visually appealing leaderboard. We are going to highlight the current user's ranking dynamically. Then we are going to animate the rank changes for real-time updates. That will be when we integrate Firebase. By the end of this section, our leaderboard will update smoothly, making the experience fun and competitive. So now let's start with designing the leaderboard screen. So here on my screen, let me zoom in so you guys can see my screen clearly. So here on my screen, I'm going to design the leaderboard screen. Here we have the leaderboard tab, bottom navigation bar. So I will quickly go to our let's go. This is our feature community home screen with leaderboard. So I'm going to be creating a presentation directory, and also let me create data directory. So inside my presentation, I have my views, I have my providers, I also have my widgets. So this will be for local widgets. Then inside my data, I have my models, and I also have my repository. Okay. So in the view, I'm going to create home leaderboard screen.dat. So from here, let's have our stateful widget that says leaderboard screen. So quickly to update this, I'll go to the main activity and change this leaderboard screen to the main screen. Cool. So nothing, you're not going to see anything until we do hot restart. So while it's restarting, let's quickly go back to the leaderboard screen. And from here, I'm just going to navigate smoothly into the leaderboard screen. Okay, currently we just have a placeholder. So right here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to return scaffold, right? So in the scaffold, I'm going to create, I'm going to use, because this leaderboard is going to have a tab from the walkthrough I showed you guys in the beginning of this course. We are going to have a tab, default, we're going to use a tab view. So this is how to create tab bar and tab view. First, we're going to create our default tab controller, and inside we are going to specify the length of the leaderboard items. Okay, so for this example, I need to have like the filters. These leaderboard items are just going to be the filters. So we can filter based on today, we can filter this week, and we can filter for all time data. So for this to work, what I'm going to do, I will go to my presentation, and then inside here I'm going to create the leaderboard provider. Okay, and then here I'm going to create a class. I'll call this leaderboard provider and just extend change notifier. So right here, that's coming from foundation. So let's make sure we have the correct one. So inside here, I'm going to create the filter item. So we have this week, all time, and today. So I'm just going to put the local variable inside here, which has the weekly and everything. And also there's something I want to do just to have like dummy data, right, that we are going to display on the leaderboard screen. So I'll just have this dummy data, right? We are going to update this dummy data later because we'll be using Firebase. So all the data are going to be real users coming from the database. And this is how we are going to structure the data: username, score, and image URL. There will be a lot of things I'm going to do later on in this screen, but I just want to update the UI. So the next thing we are going to do is to go to the main.dat. No, actually our app.dat. So inside here, I'm going to wrap this with a multi-provider. You can see now our provider is coming in handy because we want to make use of providers. So I need to wrap this with multi-provider. And here we have providers where I'm going to put my change notifier provider, and I have my contest. Then I'm going to return the leaderboard provider. Then I'm going to remove this material app that is here, is supposed to be a child, so we are going to include it inside under here, like so. Okay, all right, so this works. Now we are still having error in our leaderboard screen, so I'll quickly go to our leaderboard screen because we have the length, we also have this. So the length by default is going to be coming from the provider that we created, right? So to make things good, I'm going to wrap this default tab controller with the consumer because we want this whole widget to have access to the consumer. I'm going to wrap it with builder, and from the stream builder, I convert this to a consumer and change this one to the leaderboard provider. Then we have leaderboard state and the child. All right. So now the length is going to be, remember we already created this leaderboard provider filters here. The length is going to be the leaderboard state.filters.length. Okay. And here we have the child. The child is just going to be the scaffold. So moving on, we are going to create the app bar, how it's going to look, and also we are going to put the tab controller to the app bar, and then we are going to create the body. So from here, I have my app bar, where I'm going to return app bar like so, and we have the title that says leaderboard app, and we have the style. So now we'll be using the Google Fonts dot pumpkins. I think we already added Google Fonts here, but there's an easier way that I use Google Fonts. So since this our app is relying on internet most times to get data, so instead of passing this Google Font everywhere in our project, what I can do is go to my main.dat inside here, right? My app.dat directory where I have my material app. So here I'm going to set the, I think we can have font family here. So I'm going to set the Google font dot thing popkin font family. Okay. Yeah, this works. So we have Google Fonts, Popkins, and it's going to return the font family for us. So you can change it to any other family that you want to use. Let's say you want to use Abel, or you want to use Beelzebub. I think I saw one like that. ABZ, yeah. Let's try this. I think first thing we need to do is to get rid of this error. So I'm going to remove the whole of this and see how it behaves. All right, let's see. You can see now the font has changed to something else. We can also go here and change the font to something else that we want to use, and make sure you have a fallback. It's always good that you have a fallback because this can be null, right? So it's always good you have a fallback font if you are using a font that you store inside your assets directory. But if you don't have, you can just do this like this. Let's change it to Abel. You can see that the font is also going to change to Abel, right? So let's just use this Abel ABZ. I think I really love this font. It's giving us that nice feeling. So I love it. We can also test with Popkins. There's a lot that you can work with, right? So there's a lot you can work with. So let's just think this is also not bad, but let's return it to ABZ. Yeah. So this is good. And you can see it's going to take effect in every part of our app. Every part of our app is going to take effect. You can see how the fonts and everything are looking. Here we have our leaderboard. You can see how it's looking as well. Cool. So that's it for that part. Let's continue with the leaderboard. Now we are going to set our text style. Let's set our style here. I'm going to set the font size to be 22 and the font weight to be bold, like so. Okay. Then moving on, I don't think this font size really did anything. So yeah, it didn't do anything. So let's just stick with bold. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to work on the bottom of our tab bar. So here we have the bold style, right? Outside it, I'm going to add a bottom. So this bottom is going to have the tab bar view. So the tabs, we need to specify the tabs. Now the tabs are going to be the filter based on the data in the filter. So we have our leaderboard state.filters.map. We are going to map through it. Let's have filter like this. And then we are going to return a tab widget. And inside the tab, we have our test where we are going to pass the filter. Then we can convert this to a list. I think somewhere here to list. Now you can see we have our tabs and you can see how everything is rendered. I don't like how this section is showing. So on the app bar, we are going to say force transparency and set it to true. Now it's gone, everything is white. All right. And this is changing, this is giving us a purple color. It should be the primary color. So here I'm going to set the indicator color, which is going to be app colors dot primary. Make sure you import this and finally save it. You can see the indicator is showing that color. Then we can say label color. Let's change it to app colors dot primary as well. Then unselected label color is going to be gray. I think it's pretty much okay the way it is. So we can just leave it like that. All right. Next thing we need to do is to create a controller because this tab needs a controller. Okay. So first, before I show you the controller, let me go ahead and build out the body. So the first thing we need here is a tab bar view because we need a view that is going to show these screens. Like for this week, we need to show a screen. For today, we also need to show a screen. So we have our tab bar view right here. And inside there, we are going to specify the children, which is going to be the list of the items we want to show. And that can be 3, right? Or we can do it based on leaderboard state.filters.map, right? Then here we are going to return, instead of this tab, we are going to, let me just return a simple test widget for now. Something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong. That list, okay, like so. Nice. So you can see when I swipe, we have all those stuffs in place. Then we have another one again, which is we need to set the controller on the tab view. But before that, this is really not aligned. This is so close to the edge. So I'm going to wrap it with a padding widget and give it 15 as the sides. All right. I also need to create a controller because controller will help us later on. So for now, let me create a controller here. We have a late tab controller and we have tab controller, and inside my init state, I'm going to initialize the controller by saying tab controller equal to tab controller dot think. We need to pass the length. What's the length? The length is going to be the filter dot length. So for this, since we cannot access this consumer directly here, I'm going to use context directly dot read. And here we are going to pass the leaderboard provider. Then we can say dot filters dot length. And then we also need to pass the vsync, like the ticker provider, which is this. And we cannot just work with that. We need to use single ticker provider state mixing, right? So we are going to use the width. This mixing is not a class, it's a mixing. I think in a later video, I'm going to talk up more about mixing so that you guys can understand what mixing is all about. Okay, I'm going to make a video to talk about mixing. But in case you don't know, let me just give you a simple overview of mixing. Mixing, it's more like, it can be used to define, like mixing and class, they are little bit related. It can be used to define reusable code, but they serve different purpose. A mixin is a special type of class used to share behavior across multiple classes without the traditional inheritance. It cannot have constructor, it cannot be instantiated, right? We use the with keyboard to use the mixin. You can see here I use the with keyword. So that's what you need to know about mixins. So now that we have this, I'm going to close this. And now we have created our controller. Let me remove this one as well. And now I'm going to register our controller in the tab bar. So here we have the controller that says tab bar controller. Then moving on, in the tab view, I also need to set my controller, and I'll call this tab controller. I know we might get some errors, which is fine. So just go to the next bottom tab and return back to the leaderboard screen. So now I'm going to be creating the leaderboard stateless widget, where we are going to return the leaderboard data and all that. So I don't know if it's something we can create in the widget. I think it's going to be much better, but let's, instead of creating it in the widget though, let's just create it inside our leaderboard screen. So below here, I'm going to be creating a stateless widget for now, and I'm going to call this leaderboard lists, leaderboard screen lists. Right, that should work. Okay, leaderboard screen list. Nice. So here now I'm just going to return it here. Instead of returning this test widget, I will just return it here. And one thing we need to do is to pass the users, which are the filters. Okay, so we're going to pass the dummy data and then the filters. Remember, the dummy data, we are filtering them based on today. Then we can also have another data again that says all time, right? Just like that, based on how the filter is. So we can have all time. We can also have, this is not the main structure. We are going to structure everything once we start integrating with Firebase. So I'm just giving you guys an example of how it's going to look. So don't bother about this. So moving on here, I'm going to create users directory. Now I'm going to create a constructor that says list of map string dynamic. And I'm going to call this one users. All right. Then inside here, I'm going to add a required name parameter users. Here, I need to now pass in the leaderboard. We have users, leaderboard, filters, the dummy data, and then we pass the filter like so. So it's saying something. So it might be null. So we need to handle nullability as well. So if it's null, we return an empty string, an empty array, sorry, or an empty list. So the first thing I want to check, if the user is empty, I'm going to return right here. If it's empty, I'm going to return no leaderboard data available. Currently it's not empty, but if I go to this week, it's empty because if we look at the leaderboard provider, you can see we only have to do it today and all time. So all time, okay, I think I need to do a hot restart for this to work. Let me keep it like this, okay. I need to do proper hot restart all time. Oh, this is lowercase, but we can also handle it in our app by converting everything to lowercase. But as I told you before, this is just to build out the UI. All right. So I'll go back here. Inside the screen, I'm going to build out how the leaderboard is going to look, and we are going to be ranking this based on scores. But aside that, let's proceed. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to return a column widget here, and we have children. So here I'm going to return the podium. So the podium refers to the top 3 users. The top 3 users, right, in the leaderboard is going to be the podium. Then we have the remaining users, which are going to be from 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and above. So on this podium, I'm going to create a podium on top 3 users, and then I'm going to pass the top users there. So to get the top users, it's very simple. I'm going to say top users equal to, we have our users, right, dot take, I'm going to take the first 3 users here. So with this, I'm going to take the first 3 users in the list. So the first 3 users are going to be, let me remove this. The first 3 users are going to be the first 3 users, okay? We are going to filter it later based on their scores, but I just want to give you a user UI, like how it's going to appear when we have not sorted it based on scores. So in this podium, I'm going to create our podium out. So the first thing I want to do is to go to my list. Inside my widgets, inside there, I'm going to be creating podium top podium widgets. Okay, let's just say podium widgets dot that. And inside here, I'm going to create a stateless widget as well. And here I'm going to call it podium top 3 users widgets. Okay, and here I'm going to go back to where I have the leaderboard. I'm going to replace it with these top 3 users. And I think I will need to create a parameter which is going to take the top users. Let's have a string of dynamic top users like so. And here I have my required that has this dot top users. Okay, then here I'm going to pass in the top users that I created. Make sure you import these to get it working. This should be top user. Okay, let me replace this to top users. All right, so now we have these top users. You can see how it's showing. Nothing much has been done. So I'm going to go ahead and create the top users. So I also need to check if the top users, the length, if it's less than 3. So I will just go ahead and return a size box here. If it's less than 3, let's just return a size box. Else, we can now return fade in because I want to add some animation to this. Then the fade in, first thing, we have the duration, which is going to be duration milliseconds, 500. And then we have the child, which is a container. And then we have to pass in our padding. And we have the decoration as well, which is box decoration. I have to pass the gradients, linear gradients, colors. Let's use colors dot blue dot shade. Let's add a shade of 200 first. And then I add a colors dot blue shade of 600. Save it up. We have just our UI there. Okay, so I'm going to add a border radius to this. I think we are trying to make things appear better. So we have border radius of 20, and you can see the radius is showing. Cool. Now moving on, let's create the body. First, we are going to create the role widget. Here we have the main axis alignment because I want them to be aligned center. And we have the first one. Here we are going to show the podium widget. Like we are going to have the first podium, the second podium, the third podium as well. Okay. And now what we are going to do is to create the top user podium widget. So here I'm going to quickly create, let me come here and we have to create just below here. I'm going to create a stateless widget. So here we have the stateless widget. Okay. We have the stateless widget here, and we are also going to create the parameters that is going to take. Sorry, I made a mistake here. So this should be top user podium. So here I'm going to create the first thing, which is going to be the rank of the user, which is an integer. Aside that, I'm also going to create the username. I'm going to create the other necessary parameters. So we have it here. We have the top user podium widget. So we have the rank, the username of the user, we have their score, we have the image URL, we have the height, we have the is champion. So for is champion, the height is going to be longer than every other one. And is champion, we are going to show an icon or an emoji like a champion emoji, a cup emoji on top of that champion. So that's pretty much it. We are now going to proceed and create the UI. So the first thing I want to do here is to create a, okay, I'm going to quickly go to the top podium, like right here. I'm going to create the image data and everything that we are going to return for this. So going here inside our children, I'm going to create the top user podium like so. So looking at this now, you can see that we have the first item, we have the, so let me update this to pen.width. I think this is not necessary because we already have, this has a spacing, we can set it to 10. So looking at this, the first rank is going to be 2, which is second person is going to appear on the left. Then the user, top user, we are going to say 1. But you know, in a list, we start counting from 0. 0 is the number 1 element. But here we are starting the second user from 1, which is the second element in the data. Then we have the username, score, image URL. Then we have the height to be 120 by default. Then for its champion, which is the first user ranking 1, we are assessing it based on 0 index. And you can see we have through here, and the height is long, which is 150. So here we also have other values as well for the third ranking user. So it's pretty much what we have. Currently, there is nothing showing. That's why you're seeing that error. So don't be scared. So moving on, I'm going to create is champion view. So if it's champion, let's say we have here a column, we have a children. So if it's champion, what I'm going to do is just to return a bounce. Let's return a container. And here the container, we have a margin dot only bottom 10. Then we have child icon dot emoji events. Then we have the color, which is just going to be app colors dot let's use amber. All right, then go ahead and close this and go ahead and also return. If it's not champion, we can just return a size box like so. So now you can see that champion icon showing. When we go back and return back in, the champion is shown. But now let's add some animation so that it's going to bounce for users whenever they open the leaderboard screen for the first time. So I'm going to wrap it with bounce in down, add a duration of milliseconds to be 700. So in case you're wondering where this bounce in is coming from, is from this animate do plugin that we added. Okay, so I'm going to save that and watch what happens when I move and come back. You can see how it's bouncing, giving us that nice animated feel. Okay, now we're going to create an animated container that is going to have the user's image and all that with some other stuffs. So right under this is champion. We are going to add an animated container. So this animated container, let me close this. This animated container, it has a duration of milliseconds, 500, curves in, padding, has a decoration and a circular avatar. This is to show the user's image. So for this, what we are going to do is just to show, we are going to have cached network image provider, and this image URL is going to just be, let's just use the avatar instead. So this avatar, we can just return the username because they're showing it based on the username. So basically, I think this image URL is not necessary if you ask me. So we are just going to remove it because we are not uploading image of users in any way. So I'm just going to remove them. And also in our provider, I'm going to remove everything relating to image URL. But for now, just leave them like that. Later, we can update it. So let it be like, oh, let's just get rid of it quickly. All right. So as you can see now, we have our podium. You can see when it's champion, the radius is 40, bigger than the rest, and the color is yellow. We are supposed to use app colors dot amber. Like so. We have this one to be app colors dot white. Like so. Cool. Now we have everything in place. So when we move, you can see how it's showing. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just to add a height of 8. Let me just add a height of 8 to this. And then we have our test widget that is going to show the username of the person. So we have a test widget that shows username. Let's add some style to this. Test style to be font size 16 and font weight, the bold color should be white. All right, moving on, I'm going to duplicate this. So since I've duplicated it, the next one here, we have to put in our score. So the score of the user is going to be here. Score should be something like this. We have score. Remember, all these things we are getting is from this constructor. We already created a constructor. So we have here to be score. I don't need this font weight and bold thing. Nice. Nice. Everything is coming now. Let's have our height. And here we have the container that is going to show the rank. Okay. We're going to show the rank of the person. So here we have this to be the rank. You can see how long it is because we added height to be height that we specified here. We already specified the height here. This one 160, this one 150, and just like that. Okay. So we also have the color, which is appcolor.amber. Like so. We have appcolor.black. And nice. Everything is looking cool. Now you can see how I just structured it. It's champion, amber, else gray, and border radius. I only did add radius to the bottom, like the top, sorry. All right, so now we are pretty much done with the leaderboard ranking system for the podium, like the top 3 users. We are done with that section. So now the next thing we are going to do now is to move on and implement the other users that are not top 3. Okay, so now let's go quickly. We are going to run down to our leaderboard screen here. Leaderboard tie and also create a list view. So right here, I will add spacing to be 20. And here I'm going to add the, let's say, expanded because I want to use a list view.builder. So I need an expanded widget. And make sure you put this. And here we have our list view.builder. And inside here, I'm going to pass in the context and also the index. And from here, let's return a leaderboard tie. So this is going to be a leaderboard tie. And inside this leaderboard, we are going to return the remaining users. So basically, what we just need to do is to return the remaining users. So to fix this, what I'm going to do here, we already created top users here, right? So I'm going to create remaining users. Let me filter the remaining users from this list. And to filter the remaining users, what I'm going to do, instead of taking the first 3, I'm going to skip the first 3 and then take the remaining elements after the first 3. You can see this one, I just take 3 to get the first 3 elements. and I use skip 3 to get the last element by skipping the first 3 elements. So first here, I have my user equal to remaining user. Because it's a list, we have to pass in index. Okay. Now I'm going to create this leaderboard tie. So just go to your widgets and come here and create leaderboard tie widget. So here with just a simple widget, which we are going to create as a stateless widget. I have my leaderboard tie, and I'm going to create the parameters that is needed for this one to work, more like the constructor. So we have this to be, yep, we have them like this. We have the leaderboard tie. All right, so something is missing. We just need to put this like so. All right, so now we have the leaderboard tie, stateless widget, and we are taking in different parameters: the rank, the username, the score. The image URL is also not necessary for this. So moving on, let me quickly create the list tie. So here we have the list tie that is going to show the users, right? So let me leave it like this first. Go back to the leaderboard tie. I'm going to import this and then go ahead and display the data that we are going to pass inside this leaderboard tie. So the first thing we need is the rank, we need the user, we need the score, and the rank I'm going to do index plus 4 because we are getting it from the fourth item, right? The first element, index plus 4. All right, this is showing error. Range error. Let me go back and return here. So I'm seeing error. Let me quickly bring up my terminal here to see what is going on. Invalid value, and where is that coming from? I need to know why we are getting that error. Remaining users index. Okay. Okay. Let's pass item count. Very important. It's going to help us. I think the index is not up to what we are trying to show, I believe. Let's see how many items are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm doing plus 4 as an index. So I think what we need to do here is more like, let's go back here. I'm going to add the item count. So if we don't have any remaining user, it's just going to show a blank screen, right? I think this is much more better, right? It's going to show a blank screen. I think later we are going to handle some empty states for these podiums users, the top 3 users later, but not now. I think we encounter some errors later when we start integrating with Firebase. So I will need to work on those ones as well. So now that we are done with that error, I'm going to create the list tie here. So the first item, we have a leading item, which is going to be the circular avatar. And I will return the radius of, say, 25. Background image, let's use cached network image provider with my image, where I'll use my avatar and the username of the user. And then moving on, I have my background color for this. Okay, I'm seeing error somewhere. Okay, save that. You can see we have 2 more users. So right here, I'm going to put a background color, which is just going to be app colors dot, let's say gray. Gray should work, something like this. Okay, so I wonder why the username is not rendering. What is wrong? Our avatar is supposed to render, but it's not rendering. We are getting error. Charlie, OS error. Socket exception. I think this should be network related issue. I feel so. We are still getting that error. I'm going to visit it later. So, but let's just proceed with other details. So here we are going to create the title of the user, like to show the username. We have the username, we have the style, we have the text style, we have the font weight to be bold. Then next we have the subtitle, we have the text, score, and here we have the score. Then finally, I'm going to create the trailing. Let me save it so that you see how it displays. Nice. So we have the trailing that shows the rank. So here we just have to pass in hash with the rank. And just quickly add a style to this. Let's have our text style. We have the font. I think font weight should be bold. And we have the font size to be 18. And color, let's use our app colors dot primary color. Cool. Now you can see how everything is looking good and nice. But now let's figure out why this is not showing the actual avatar image. Let's see with 2. Okay, just showed with 2, but with the name, if Charlie, it doesn't show up. Why is that? But when we use index like numbers, it shows up, but numbers shows up. I think it's just relating to network. We're going to handle all those things later. So for now, let's just leave it as username and proceed with other details. You can see it's showing this connection terminated during handshake. So we're going to sort that out later. We're just building the UI, but I believe you guys have seen how it's supposed to appear, just like this. Now you can, if you notice something, now we are going to rank the users properly. So we are going to rank the users properly. Looking at this, you will notice that we have Charlie with the second highest score of 2600, and Bob have 2800 as a score, and Alice is the third person here. David is not supposed to be in the podium. He's supposed to be here, and Charlie is supposed to be in the podium. So how do we make that to work as we want? So to do that, we are going to filter or sort our data, our sorted users. We are going to sort them based on the scores, like the highest score. So go back to your screen. Right here where we have the, where am I going? Where am I going? Yeah, inside here, where we are sorting for top users and remaining users, we need to get sorted users. All right, sorted users. And I'm going to do list dot map string dynamic. Something is now missing, I believe. Okay, everything is good. We have the from, then we pass in the users. In case you're finding this difficult, I have a full course on my YouTube. I'm going to put a link as well so you guys can check it out to learn more about that list and what is about, how to manipulate the objects, manipulate list and all that. So we have the list, then we are going to sort this based on, let's use A, B. We're going to sort it based on the highest score. First thing we're going to do, B, then you pass in the score. We are going to convert all this later to a model. It will be easier to filter or access model data instead of passing strings like this to access objects, like to access the score object and all that. I don't like it this way, but this is because we are building out the UI. Once we start the Firebase integration, we are going to update all this. Then we have the compare to, then we are going to pass A and score. So we are comparing the value of B with the value of score, like we are just comparing everything. So here I just go ahead and close it, Save it, and now sorted users, instead of using user.this, we are going to filter it from sorted. Let's change this to users, sorted users. So save it now. You will notice that everything has been updated. Charlie now is now the second highest ranking user in the leaderboard. Then we have Bob, which is the highest user because of the score. Then we have Alice, we have David, followed by Eve. So now you can see we have successfully ranked our user, and we have been able to display the leaderboard data properly as it's supposed to. So now, this is pretty much all we need to set up in this particular course. So now that we have this in place, the next thing we are going to be looking at is the UI development for community and friends feature. See you guys in the next lesson.